Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Bio Korea 2020 Invest Fair, hosted by Korea Health Industry Development Institute. I am today's MC, Hong Sun-hye. This event is to introduce a competence of pharmaceutical bio and healthcare companies and to introduce their vision and strategy to investors. This presentation will be about Celltrion. Celltrion is number one biopharmaceutical company in Korea, and they have Revasima, an autoimmune disease, Atroxima, hematologic malignancy therapy, as well as Herzima, which is a breast cancer therapy. So they are currently coming up with a lot of accomplishment in Korea, so we are getting curious. Let's have President Chang Shin-jo, Celltrion. Hello. We have a lot of curiosity about Celltrion, so please begin your presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm President Jang Shin-jae of Celltrion. My presentation title is From the First Mover to the Game Changer. So my presentation will mainly cover the status quo of the biosimilar industry, the core technology of Celltrion to develop the first antibody biosimilar, and our core competitive edge. And lastly, we're currently becoming a game changer, and I'll introduce our new growth engine. Currently, one of the biggest problems that we people face is the aging problem. As people age, their average medical costs just keep increasing. And the main reason for the increasing cost is the expensive medical costs. Those bio goods faced with cancer, an immune disorder, or infectious disease therapy, they're showing a very good efficacy. And specifically, compared to those conventional therapies not meeting those unmet needs, now these new products are likely to meet the demand. Namely, those biosimilar goods are equipped with similar efficacy, safety, as well as affordable costs. So if you use this can radically decrease the medical costs of each nation, and such decreased medical costs can provide a new opportunity to those conventional patients who hadn't have accessibility to those medical services. So in terms of biosimilar industry, this will help those patients. And major nations are showing very favorable policies to the industry. For example, in the European Union nations, the Union was the first union ever to come up with approval and guidelines and accepted the biosimilar technology. As for those member nations, they have already caught a lot of medical costs, and each nation and a lot of medical staffers, specialists, are having positive recognition towards this industry, so they're showing a lot of growth. As for the United States, in 2018, the FDA announced the Biosimilar Action Plan to come up with transparent, clear, and efficient guideline to approve it. And thanks to that announcement, a lot of biosimilar companies are likely to expand to the United States market. And currently, Celltrion got approval from the United States, which is infliximab, and it was included to the United States medical care coverage. And also in the United States, those original conventional market leaders are taking a lot of monopolizing actions to prevent other companies to coming, but there are a lot of antitrust regulations going on, thankfully. However, compared to the European market, the development of this industry is rather slow, so there was a massive costs happening in the country. Celltrion, in terms of the biosimilar market, we're a leading company. And in 2018, if you take a look at the sales, if you take a look at the market share, Celltrion is taking 1.748 billion US dollars, which is 81% of the total market. And those late followers are taking the rest of the shares. And of course, as time goes by, other companies are also increasing their shares, sales, and taking more and more market shares. Celltrion, as the first mover, introduced three different products and they keep increasing the market share. The first product, Ramsima, is showing 60% of market share, and the second and third ones, Truxima and Herzuma, are respectively taking 32%, late 30%, 39%, and almost 20%. And those market share compared to the previous goods are showing higher market share decade compared to the conventional market. So we're witnessing a soft landing of the products. The key ideas of Celltrions are as follows. First of all, as a first mover, Celltrion has high recognition. People say Celltrion equals biosimilar goods. So thanks to that, as I have mentioned before, in some markets, it is having an even higher market share compared to those conventional market leaders. Next is cost leadership. We have an optimized manufacturing process, and we have high demand and high titer, so we have relatively lower labor costs. And well-trained specialists are showing high work efficiency, so that is also contributing to our affordable costs. And we have a very strong pipeline. So far, we are planning to introduce one new drug each year, and we study those conventional drugs, and we are planning to come up with a strategic plan to make use of those conventional goods, which will help us expand to a better market. Next is cost leadership. For Celltrion, we, from screening, R&D, clinical trials, regulatory affairs, and manufacturing to sales, we have all the infrastructure from A to Z embedded in our market, our company. So unlike those companies who have partnership with other companies, which generates cost and decreased net benefit, so thanks to our strategy, we have high price competence. In terms of our pipeline, we have Ramsima, Truxima, Herzuma, as well as Ramsima SC. We have 4 commercialized goods, and also we have Avestin biosimilar, Humira biosimilar, and Xolair biosimilar. Those 3 goods are currently working on the trial stage. And also we have 18 other goods, so we plan to introduce 1 good each year. So we have a very strong pipeline. If you take a look at the market environment of 2020, as I have mentioned before, in the European market, we have already witnessing a very high market share, so we plan to continuously and stably expand the market. And in the United States, we have recently expanded to the market and introducing new goods. And for those pre-introduced goods are showing 1 digit to 2 digits of market share. So the United States, which is the biggest market, we are planning to expand to the market. And as for Ramsima SC, this is an incrementally modified drug. So it increases convenience of patients, and we will enlarge the market size to 5-fold. So this will contribute to our strategy. And as the first time ever for us, we began our sales in the European market, so we expect to see higher net profit. And we're launching a number of global business plans in 2020. I'll show you 2 examples. First is United States Global Chemical Project. For generic drugs, branded drugs, and non-over-the-counter goods, we form this portfolio to expand our market to the US. And we're also planning to expand to the Chinese market by establishing a massive scale facility. We will introduce our antibody goods and export our goods to the global market. Last year, we announced a Vision 2030. So far, the biosimilar goods are being our cash cow, and we will expand the size to make our business more higher and bigger. And for new drugs or IMDs, we will come up with new drugs to expand to a smarter market. And taking steps with the fourth industrial revolution, we will launch a new business, and we will massively invest in the U healthcare market. And by massively investing in U healthcare, we will create a new growth momentum. Let's take a look at one by one. I have just mentioned that Remsima SC is one of our IMDs, and this is a form of IV injection. In the past, there were IV injections. Patients had to go to the hospital and stay on the sick bed for 2 hours. But by inventing it as an hypodermic injection, patients can just stay home and take doses. So the target market is, as for the IV, the conventional market was about 10 trillion Korean won. But thanks to Humira and Enbrel added to the market, we expect the market size will expand to 50 trillion Korean won. So namely, in the future, this strategy will contribute to the development of our company. As for new drugs, recently there was this coronavirus outbreak, so I would like to introduce our new antibody therapy. When the coronavirus occurred, we studied patients who overcame the coronavirus and we studied their neutralizing antibody, and we're working on developing a new drug. How come we could take actions so fast? That was because back in 2009, when there was this novel influenza pandemic, we studied it and we have this platform. So even afterwards, we have developed antibody therapy for MERS, and we have data. So those antibody for viral diseases, there are two major strengths. And first of all is that therapy can be used for preventive measures. If you immediately administer antibody, then you can immediately neutralize the virus in the human body. But if you administer it to healthy people, then it has about 2 to 3 weeks of half-life. So during this period, if you administer this to healthy people, then they can also prevent contracting diseases. So those medical staff who deal with patients or those who have to work on very dangerous tasks, they can administer this for preventive measures. Next is people can take high doses. Our antibody is a neutralizing antibody. Humanized antibody. So those conventional goods, when administered with high dose, they would come up with side effects. However, for this antibody, you can massively decrease side effects. So even for those patients with high dose of viruses, you can rapidly and safely use this dose to neutralize and mitigate symptoms. So based on these two strengths, we are keep working on developing this therapy. And as I have mentioned before, just like I have mentioned before, we are expanding to the Chinese market. China is having number 2 market size in the globe, and so far, the antibody industry in China is showing approximately 35% of growth rate every year, and we have implemented a 120,000 liter scale facility to launch our 16 some products to aim the Chinese market, and we are also planning to expand to the global market thanks to this facility. Also, not only the antibody biosimilar products, but we are also working on the first generation biosimilar products. So this market is showing about $40 billion of market scale, and there are different forms of doses. So we will implement our core technology to come up with cost effectiveness and efficient goods to target the global market. And as for you healthcare, our immune disorder therapy, as I have mentioned before, patients can stay home and administer this drug. So it is focused on increasing convenience for patients. And we can digitalize patients' and medical staff's activity so that they can get proper treatment. And we will commercialize this in the near future. And in the long term, we will collect medical data from each nation and create a big data platform to come up with solutions and create a new business plan. And we're planning to work on investment activities. So, in summary, we'll keep developing the market as a first mover, and in the near future, we'll work on IMDs, new drugs, and new healthcare. So, based on our new items, we will be a game changer in the market and come up with differentiated business models in the future. Thank you.
We have listened to Celltrion's presentation. Since it is number one pharmaceutical company in Korea, we'll look forward to seeing further development. Thank you for your presentation, President
Thank
John.
you.